U-GeekTV.
Welcome back to U-GeekTV. I am your host, Jarvis, Unapologetic Geek, and I am back with another unapologetic opinion, installment, or episode, or whatever the case may be. And this time I'm talking about a little bit of sports. Let's talk about Coach Prime. Coach Prime got into a little bit of a tizzy. Was a little bit upset about one of the columnists over in Colorado who's covering the team. I think he works for the Denver Post. And he and the University of Colorado have effectively banned this man from asking questions. So to be clear, he can come to press conferences, but he cannot ask questions, which that's honestly a pretty funny punishment to give a reporter. I mean, that's hilarious. Like, you can come and look at me, but you cannot talk to me, whatever. So this reporter was given this question ban for apparently saying things or calling names or whatever, but saying things like Deion is a false prophet. He called him deposition Deion. Yeah, that's when it's a trip. And it was something else that he said, but it was low key out of pocket, but not really enough to get him banned. At least I don't feel or whatever. And the thing about like sports writers and like coaches and players and stuff, there's this unwritten rule, or this rules of engagement rather, that if the speech isn't really like hateful or detrimental or derogatory or anything like that, to a certain extent, then things are fair game. I guess this is a column, a sports column. You're not necessarily going over stats, solely on stats. Rather, it's kind of like hot take TV. Like, you're going into what your opinion is of a situation. This dude has a right for his audience. He has to be sensational. But Coach Deion, who you would think would understand sensationalism to the umpteenth degree, he wasn't having it, and they banned this man from being able to talk about it. With that being said, man, I want to have a bigger conversation about Deion Sanders as a coach. Uh, I'm a Jackson State alumni. When Deion came to Jackson State, city was on fire. Like, it's honestly one of the greatest 2-year spans, or maybe 3-year spans, in the history of Jackson State's long storied history. And I know I just said history before, but it's where I just came to again. And so it was just a huge deal just having Deion there. And the influence and the attention and everything he brought, man. I no longer live in Jackson, so I really miss most of that era. But my family, they were on it. They would talk to me about it. I was keeping up with it on the internet and things of that nature. I actually went to the game of the first HBCU national championship, where they lost to, I believe, South Carolina State or something like that. I actually went to that first one, didn't make it to the second one, which they ultimately lost to. But hey, we were there. We were in the building. I'm objective at heart. I try to be objective and unbiased. And while I paid attention to the success of JSU and I loved it and took it all in, there were some things about the way Deion carried out business that were alarming to me. Like, he was talking about how the dorms looked at Jackson State, which, of course, those things can be better. But it's one of those things, like, when you just get out and just talk shit about your employer, that can be a little bit alarming. Now, I understand there was some things going on in the background, but still, it was like taking jabs at the city of Jackson, which is the poorest city in the United States, major city in the United States, and just taking those little jabs here and there. And yeah, he would show love when he could show love, but any chance he got, he punched down. So then he takes a job at Colorado and he does what he does. He goes out there. And it was the way in which his daughter kind of talked about JSU, and she said something that was completely false, saying that somebody got killed or shot on campus and all that kind of stuff. And just, that city does have a lot of crime, but the way they made it sound, it was just crazy. And Deion would say little subtle shit. He would take pot shots at Jackson and all that kind of stuff. And the thing that stuck out to me, and I'm just about to be really real on this, he said the exact same things um, about coming to JSU on 60 Minutes, about God telling him to go there and stuff. He said that those exact same things when he came to Colorado. The thing is, at Jackson State, you was helping people that look like you. At Colorado, Boulder, it's majority white, like hugely majority white. The black people who make up the most of that population that you'll see are all on your team. Um, you're not even putting money back into a city that really desperately needs it. Like if it was about helping people, he would have stayed in Jackson. But I know that sounds like sour grapes, and honestly, I want him to do whatever makes him happy. That's fine. But as someone who saw everything play out at Jackson State, I knew shit was gonna be different for Colorado because I knew he was gonna take some of those practices and some of the shit he tried to pull in Jackson that he did pull in Jackson, like having a writer for the Clarion Ledger banned from press conferences because he decided to report on a domestic dispute involving one of Deion's players. I knew that shit wasn't gonna fly as well with bigger media attention and outlets taking a look at what he's doing at Colorado now. From what I can tell, almost unanimously across the media, when it comes to like people who really went to school for journalism or like longtime reporters, they all agree that banning the reporter from being able to ask questions is a bridge too far. And it violates the rules of engagement between the organization and the media. And they don't think that that's fair to that reporter. And honestly, it does make Deion look thin-skinned. When Stephen A. Smith got on TV and said that Deion looked thin-skinned by doing this, I knew it was some shit. And the media had kind of band together, and they're just calling it what it is. Like, look, man, first year, you lost 4 games. You talked a whole lot of shit, and the team got smacked 8 out of 12 times. Just got smacked the fuck up. Now let's take a look at the 4 games they won. They beat TCU. TCU they weren't as good as they were the year prior. They beat, I believe, Nebraska. That team, whatever. They beat Colorado State only because Colorado State honestly was too emotional. They were way too emotional in that game. They started making stupid mistakes. Then I believe the last team they beat was, I think, San Diego State or whatever, and that was a wash anyway. When it actually counted, the team got smacked. They did, man. They had issues on the offensive line. The defense was having all kinds of issues. And that gets me to where I am in terms of Coach Prime as a coach. Coach Prime as a personality and a recruiter, fantastic. But as an X's and O's coach, I saw it at Jackson State in both of those HBCU national championship games. The rubber met the road, and the other coach just simply outcoached him. And it wasn't even close a lot of the times. When he's outcoached, now, honestly, in the SWAC, I've seen some times where he was being outcoached and his talent got him through. Like Shadur Sanders is a dog. He is, and so is Travis Hunter. Them two, they are dogs, and that talent can carry you through in a lot of ways. But on a bigger stage in those Power 5 conferences, nah, man, it's different out here. It's different. Like, you really going to have to coach as well as recruit. Because you can have all the talent in the world, but if that coaching ain't up to par, that's it. That's it. You getting the fuck up out of here. Now, he's saying this shit that he's going to make the playoffs. They're in a new conference. That's entirely possible. I'm not sure what to make of their roster yet, so we'll see. But one thing I'll say is he has to win at least 7 games. He does. If he comes out and has another 4-8 season or whatever, I believe they play 12 games. He has another one of those losing seasons with what he just did with this media, this columnist, and basically excommunicating him from being able to speak inside of press conferences. The media is going to remember that shit. And here's the thing. Coach Prime may learn. and he may kind of de-escalate in terms of his responses, like in press conferences and stuff. But I wonder what happens when somebody asks him a question after a loss and he gets agitated. What's going to come out of his mouth? How's he going to feel? Or if another columnist writes something that he doesn't like, or they, use some hyperbole or make some jokes or anything like that. What happens then? Because the media is going to be on his ass. The media don't forget nothing. He got to win. If he don't win, it's going to be some shit. I'm telling you, it's going to be some shit. Now, I wish all the best for everybody. Deion Sanders is one of my favorite players of all time, one of my favorite personalities of all time. But I'm on here to be unbiased and objective. And that's my honest to goodness take on this matter, man. I don't think it was a good look for Deion. And honestly, it's a lot more to expose, especially when you consider that a whole expose or deep dive into the culture of their program. It's out there where you had people talking about guns, you had a bunch of people gambling and all that kind of like these are reports that are out there now that the media has kind of stayed away from, at least ESPN, the biggest sports news outlet or whatever. But I've seen FS1 kind of cover it and it kind of stayed down because ESPN didn't take it and run with it. I'm telling you, this season is going to be really interesting, and I'm plugged in when it comes to it because I want to see how this plays out. But all the best to everybody. And football is back. College football is back. Follow closer about the NFL. I'm ready for it. So, what do you think about this story about Deion banning a columnist from his press conferences at Colorado? Let me know what you think in the comments. Continue to like, continue to share, continue to subscribe, and also turn on the bell, get notifications for new videos. And until next time, I'm Jarius, Unapologetic Geek, and I am out.